Okay, again, introduction to consumer behavior. So we will be discussing the basics, the concepts, and the definition of what consumer behavior is and kung ano ba yung kanyang role in marketing. Alright, so let us define what is consumer behavior. So this is a study of how individual customers, groups, or organizations select, buy, use, and dispose ideas, goods, and services to satisfy their needs and wants. Now, if you notice from that definition, this is an activity being done by the actors of the market, which is or which are the customers, groups, or organizations. Okay? So what are their practices when it comes to consuming and disposing goods and services? So it refers to the actions of the consumers in the marketplace and the underlying motives of those actions. So what are the actions? We will repeat. So from the consumers, consumers consists of individual or groups. The acts or the motives or the actions would be buy, use, and dispose goods and services. Ito na yung being offered by entrepreneurs, being offered by businesses to satisfy their needs and wants. This is now the overall behavior on how consumers consume products. Alright? Businesses expect that by understanding what causes the consumers to buy particular goods and services, they will be able to determine the following: which products are needed in the market, which are already obsolete, those products na hindi na natin ipoproduce, and how best to present the goods to the consumers. So going back in our our flowchart earlier, di ba? Consumers, they buy, use, dispose the goods and services to satisfy their needs and wants. And we can now say that the consumers are the actors of the marketplace, di ba? Usually kasi when we say a marketplace, ang una nating iniisip is the businesses. Focus on the businesses. Focus on the producers. Yet, those who will consume the product, sila po ang main players of the marketplace. So, as a buyer or as a consumer, di ba? Ano ba yung kailangan nating makita dun sa marketplace? Siyempre, information provider. It will be siyempre provided by the consumer side. User of products, they are also the payer and they are the disposer. No? This is now the whole decision process on the part of the consumer. Ayan. So as a business who is producing goods and services, we must consider this decision process being done by the consumer. Very important. Okay? Alright, so the rules also vary in different consumption situations. For example, as a mother, ang kanyang role is to influence the child's purchase process. How? Siyempre, if the child has no capacity to buy pa, sino ang bibili on behalf of the child? It's the mother or it's the parents. Whereas she plays the role of the disposer for the products consumed by the family. And when we say we dispose, syempre not only the distribution of the products from each family member, how will the mother dispose the product after consuming yung product? Syempre, di ba, meron tayo mga end products or yung hindi na natin ginagamit na we have to throw out. Yeah. So there is also a decision process. Especially now that people are becoming environmentally conscious. Diba? It is already part of our decision process yung materials ng packaging. Diba? Siyempre, to help the environment, some consumers prefer to buy yung mga paper-based na packaging. Yan. It is part of the buying decision process. So let us discuss now the scope of market behavior. Ayan. So number one, it is influenced by various factors. Okay? So a buyer or a consumer, hindi lang siya bumibili ng product ng basta-basta. There are different factors. So here are some of the factors. Number one is the marketing factors such as the product design, the price, promotion, packaging, positioning, and distribution. Yung mga piece in marketing. As you as a consumer una nating tinitingnan, especially in the Philippines, is the price. It must be affordable within our budget range. Next siguro is the promotion. Ayan, do we have, how are we engaged in the product? No? Are we influenced in buying the product? No? The design, of course, kailangan natin yan. Siyempre, especially for high-valued products or mga luxury items, we always factor the design. And syempre, the packaging. Tulad nung example ko kanina, it should be not only appealing but also environmentally friendly. So these are marketing factors. Next is we have the personal factors such as age, gender, education, and income level. I'll give you an example. For children, diba? Let's say children 10 years old pababa. When they purchase an item, ano ba ang basis nila? Diba? Usually yung makukulay. Those who are very appealing in the eyes. Ayan. Pero pag once na tumanda na tayo, let's say nandun na tayo sa teenage or young adult, mas binavalue natin yung functionality of the item. Ayan. For gender naman, syempre there are gender-based products na specifically for babae at specifically for lalaki. Ayan. Education. So how does education factor in? Ayan, let's say when it comes to the use of gadgets, ayan, mga use of technology. For those who have yung mga right education, di ba, they could utilize it properly. They could maximize the use of gadgets or any type of equipment. Ayan. And income level, of course, syempre, balik tayo dun sa gadgets, you will not buy a high-end model of a specific, of a certain gadget if labas naman sa income level mo. That's why, di ba, let's say kung ang budget mo lang naman in buying a laptop, let's say, is 15,000. Syempre, nandun tayo sa low-end na laptop. So, these are personal factors. No? Psychological factors naman, ayan, buying motives, perception of the products, and attitudes towards the products. Ito na yung you are buying based on your perception on the value of the product. For example, if you are, ang lifestyle mo is, nandun ka sa medyo high class, let's say. Ayan. At ang product, let's say, coffee. Preference mo, syempre, Starbucks. That is highly psychological. Kasi you have a perception na yung value of the product nun sa Starbucks pag bumili ka. No? But for some, na medyo nagtitipid, di ba, syempre, mas value nila yung mga tipid na coffee, such as yung 3-in-1. Ayan. So, those are psychological, highly subjective based on the perception of the buyer. Situational factors naman, physical surroundings at the time of purchase, social surroundings, and time factor. An example I can think na sa situational factors, let's say if we go to SM, ayan, there is a certain business no, sa SM, pero I think wala na ngayon. Dati, meron dun yung isang stall na Mang Taho. Ayan, si Mang Taho is selling yung Taho products for a very high price. Mas mataas kumpara dun sa mga nakikita natin sa parks o sa mga sa labas-labas na nagtitinda ng taho. The price is 3 times, 4 times, 5 times more expensive. Yet, bumibili pa rin ng mga tao dun sa SM. What could be the reason? Again, it's situational. One advantage of SM is it is a one-stop shop. Kumbaga, once you are in SM, mabibili mo na lahat. So, from the time that you have crave yung taho, there is an establishment who can satisfy your need sa loob mismo ng SM. Meaning that you will not go to Burnham para bumili pa ng taho. Okay? Situational. If you crave something, bibili tayo sa pinaka malapit na pwede nating pagbilhan. Okay? Social factors naman, social status, reference groups, and families rearing based on these social classes. Okay? And cultural factors, religion, social class, caste, and subcastes. This is applicable in India, pero in the Philippines, wala naman tayo yung caste system. Especially for religion, let's say, correct me if I'm wrong, pero I think Jehovah's Witness, hindi sila pwede kumain ng blood. Ayan. Or even Iglesia ni Cristo, I think. Hindi sila pwede kumain ng blood. But for Christians, okay lang naman. So these are cultural factors din. Ayan. Influenced by different factors. So as a business, we must also consider these different factors na in delivering and producing our products. What else? We have to understand that consumer behavior undergoes a constant change. Consumer behavior is not static. It undergoes a change over a period of time depending on the nature of the product, which means that those are in-demand products 10 years ago is not in demand today. Or the in-demand products today will not be in demand in the next 5 years or in the next 10 years. The change in buying behavior may take place due to several other factors such as income level, education level, and other marketing factors or trends. Ayan. For example, kids prefer colorful and fancy footwear. Diba? Pero once na they grow up as teenagers, their taste when it comes to shoes, footwear, nag-iiba. Okay? Ngayon siguro for teenagers, ang mas prefer na nila is yung K-pop. Ayan, medyo K-pop na yung style. Diba? Very different when they are children na ang gusto nila is unicorn, colorful, rainbow, etc. Ayan. Ayan, for teenagers, trendy. For middle age, siguro kami, mas prefer namin na yung comfortable. No? Mas comfortable. Another is varies from consumer to consumer. Now, as a producer, we must know or we must consider the differences of consumers. Not all consumers are the same. All consumers do not behave in the same manner. Different consumers behave differently. The differences in consumer behavior are due to individual factors such as the nature of consumers, their individual lifestyles, and of course, their culture. Ayan. No customer is alike. So, wag nating i-treat na lahat sila pare-parehas. Another is customers varies from region to region and country to country. Ayan. So, the consumer behavior varies across from the United States, sa regions dito sa Philippines, and even countries na. For example, the behavior of urban consumers is different from those who are in the rural. A good number of rural consumers are conservative in their buying behavior because they have lower income level. In the Philippines, ayan, dito tayo sa Philippines, spending patterns also, kumbaga, since we belong in the third world country, ang spending pattern natin is very different from those who are in the first world countries such as United States. No? In the United States, they value credit more than yung cash. Kasi they have the capacity to pay naman. But in the Philippines, when we say credit or utang, it is something that is very negative. Diba? Debt is very negative in the Philippines. That's why we value cash more than credit dito. So again, it varies from country to country. Okay, number 5, information on consumer behavior is important to the marketers. Marketers or businesses need to have a good knowledge of the consumer behavior. They need to study the various factors that influence the consumer behavior of their target market. By studying this data from the consumers, they can now formulate the proper marketing mix for their business. I-review lang in our marketing, syempre, marketing mix consists of the 4 P's: product, price, place, and promotion. Okay? Number 6 naman, it leads to purchase decision. A positive consumer behavior leads to a purchase decision. That's why as a producer or a business, di ba, we always want to make them comfortable, di ba, in purchasing our product. Letting them know that that is the right decision. No? A consumer may take the decision of buying a product on the basis of different buying motives. The purchase decision leads to higher demand, and the sales of the marketers increase. Therefore, marketers need to influence consumers' behavior to increase their purchases. Going back in our 4 P's of marketing or the marketing mix, what is the P that will lead to or will influence the consumer to the right purchasing decision? Usually, di ba, nandun yan sa promotions. That's why we must always give promotions, promotional strategies, a reason for customers to buy our product. Let's take SM as an example. Diba? I think twice or 3 times a year meron sila yung SM 3-day sale. Correct me if I'm wrong. That is one way of influencing customers to buy products even if they do not need that product. Diba? A reason to buy that product. So that leads to purchase decisions. Number 7 naman, it varies from product to product. Consumer behavior is different for different products, which means the strategy that we are going to use from one product might not work to another type of product. There are some consumers who may buy for more quantity of certain items and very low or no quantity of other items. For example, teenagers may spend heavily on products such as gadgets or cell phones and branded wares and snob appeal. Ayan. But not spend on general or academic reading. Diba? Siguro sa inyo, mapapansin nyo din, you invest on gadgets, you invest on fashion. At sino ang gumagastos para sa mga education nyo? Diba? You leave it to your parents. Yeah. It's very normal. Kasi, that is your focus. Diba? That's why, on the consumer side, syempre, for apparel, kung ako yung gumagawa ng apparel, I will focus yan sa mga teenagers. Kasi sila ang pibili niyan. But if I will be selling educational items, di ba? Sino ang tina-target ko? Is it the teenagers or the parents? Usually, I will target towards sa parents. Kasi yun ang focus nila, to buy educational supplies for their children. Okay? Ayan. So, different products, different focuses. A middle-aged person may spend less on clothing, but may invest more on savings, insurance, pensions, and building yung kanilang wealth. Ayan. Number 8 naman, it improves the standard of living. The buying behavior of the consumers may lead to higher standard of living. The more a person buys goods and services, the higher is the standard for living. Let us remember that these goods and services are there to improve our daily lives. Okay? Sometimes hindi lang yan luxury, even yung phones, di ba? Ang phone is not for luxury. It will improve our lives. Especially ngayon, napapansin nyo yan. Since we are more on the online class, yung dati na cellphone mo na Facebook mo lang or Mobile Legends mo lang, ngayon nagagamit mo rin to, di ba, to attend your online classes. So again, it improves your standard of living. But if a person spend less on goods and services despite having good income, they are now depriving themselves for higher standard of living. Very contradicting to, no, na, sir, may ipon ako, kailangan ko bang gastusin ng gastusin? Okay? Siyempre, if you have the right at good income, you should improve rin your way of life. No? Tama ba? You should always improve your way of life. May kasabihan nga tayo, di ba, yung sa kumot. Alam niyo ba yung kasabihan ng kumot? Kung maiksi ang kumot, matutong bumaluktot. Pero ngayon, kung maiksi ang kumot, bumili ng mas mahabang kumot. Okay? Kasi you need to improve your standard of living. You need to improve your life. Okay? Ito yung point nito. Improve standard of living. Okay, number 9 naman, it reflects the status. The consumer behavior is not only influenced by the status of a consumer, but also reflects it. So the consumer who own luxury cars, watches, and other items are considered to belonging to a higher status. Especially if you are a type of consumer who is trying to maintain a social status. It will also be a part of your buying decision. The luxury items also give a sense of pride to owners. Diba? What else? Ayan. So, those are the Ayan. Okay, so last na natin is reflect status. Next part natin are the interdisciplinary roots of consumer behavior. Okay? So, number 1, it is now a modern philosophy. It concerns with modern marketing philosophy, identify consumer needs and satisfy them more effectively than competitors. And the advantage will now go both to the consumer side and the producer side. Consumer side will be receiving a better product at a lower cost. Okay? On the producer side naman, syempre, profit. Okay? So it's a cycle, it's a relationship na both parties will benefit. It makes now marketing consumer-oriented, and it is the key for any types of business to succeed. Number 2 naman is the achievement of goals. The key of a business, any type of business or company, is survival, profitability, and growth. In highly competitive market environment, it is the ability to identify and satisfy unfulfilled consumer needs better and sooner than the competitors. Thus, all companies must study consumer behavior. Kasi consumer behavior helps in achieving those marketing goals. Useful for dealers and salesmen. Kayo mga entrepreneurs, no? For now, siguro hindi nyo ma-appreciate yung being a dealer and being a salesman. But once you put up your business, you are doing this activity then. You are being a salesman. You are being a dealer then. So understanding yung consumer behavior is not only useful for the company alone. Knowledge of consumer behavior is equally useful for if you are a middleman or you act as a salesman to perform your tasks effectively, especially in meeting consumer needs and wants successfully. Diba? Consumer behavior thus improves the performance of the entire distribution system, from the producers, from the middlemen, from the wholesalers to retailers until you will reach the customers. More relevant marketing program, again, babalik tayo dun sa product, price, place, and promotion. So if you have the right knowledge on consumer behavior, once you do these programs or the 4Ps in marketing, mas maganda yung output. Okay, predicting market trends. Consumer behavior can also aid in projecting the future market trends. No? By understanding the needs and wants of the consumers now, we can actually predict what will come in the next years. A marketer or a businessman finds enough time to prepare for exploiting the emerging opportunities and or facing challenges and threats. Creation and retention of consumers, it is something we want as in a business. Marketers or businesses who base their offerings on a recognition of consumer needs find a ready market for their products. No? Once that the consumers, yung customers mo, nagustuhan yung product, a reason for them to buy and buy and buy. Again, that is something we need to maintain in a business. Company finds it easy to sell its products, especially when we have an established consumer base. In the same way, the company, due to continuous study of consumer behavior and attempts to meet changing expectations of the buyers, can retain its consumer for a very long period. Okay? So we are now already building a relationship with our consumers. There are some companies who have who are doing very good in this part. When isang example dito is Apple. Ayan. They have already built a good relationship with their consumers. That's why every time they release a new item or a new phone, twice a year, diba? Lagi pa rin may bumibili at may bumibili. Kasi they have already achieved yung retention of consumer base. What else? We have competition. Consumer behavior study assists in facing competition too. Based on consumer expectations, more competitive advantage can be offered. By understanding the needs and wants of the consumers, a company can offer features on their product that can satisfy that specific need. And let us remember, itong needs and wants are continuously changing. Kaya competition is it's very bloody. Yet it will benefit. Sino magbe-benefit? It's always the consumers. It is useful in improving competitive strengths of the company. Ayan. Speaking of which, because of competition, di ba, producers or businesses are improving their products. developing new products. New product is developed in respect of the needs and wants of the target market. In order to develop the best fit product, a marketer must know adequately about the market. When we are trying to add features no sa ating product, syempre, it should satisfy needs and wants. Hindi lang tayo add ng features na wala namang may gusto no sa features na yun. Again, let's match to the needs and wants to the consumers. Thus, the study of consumer behavior is based for developing new product successfully. Ayan. So, I'll give you an example of a company who had done a very bad research, no? O hindi nila masyadong pinag-aralan yung consumer behavior. So, do you still remember this company, Nokia? Ayan, Nokia is an example of a company that has a very high level of pride na sabi nila their product will work for a long time. So, the history of Nokia is this. In 1998, Nokia became the best-selling mobile phone brand in the world. More than Apple, more than Samsung, etc. Nokia's operating profit went from 1 billion in 1995 to 4 billion in 1999. Just in 4 years, they have accumulated $4 billion. The best-selling mobile phone of all time is the Nokia 1100, which is created in 2003. Then after that, yung 3310, one of the most iconic phones no around the world, yung Nokia 3310. Siguro pinanganak naman na kayo dito, no? Meron na yung 3310. Okay, so what happened? In 2007, punta si Apple. Apple introduced the iPhone, no? One of the most revolutionary phones in the history. By the end of 2007, half of all smartphones sold in the world were Nokia. Apple iPhone only have 5% in the global market. So malaki pa rin ang percentage ni Nokia. So what Nokia did is virtually nothing. Bakit? Sabi nila they have a phone that works. They think that it will still have a demand for a long time. No? They do not consider yung ino-offer ni iPhone na pwedeng isolve na needs and wants ng consumers. Sabi ni Nokia, hindi. Itong design natin, okay pa rin. So eventually, what happened is, unti-unting lumalaban si iPhone and other products who offered yung touchscreens and smartphones. Unti-unti rin na bumababa yung market share ni Nokia. So what Nokia did is, in 2010, they offered yung N95 na phone, Nokia N95. They said that it would be the iPhone killer. But then again, they focused sa kanilang OS. Hindi sila nag-adapt sa touchscreen. Hindi sila nag-adapt sa Android. Sabi nila, our design is still mas maganda as compared to others. Ang nangyari, it failed to match the competition. It is an example of a company who disregarded the needs and wants of the consumer. Kasi ang needs and wants ng consumer, gusto nila ng touchscreen, gusto na nila ng Android. Okay? Eventually, nawala na yung Nokia sa competition. Ayan. Quality of Nokia high-end phones continues to decline. In just 6 years, the market value of Nokia declined about 90%, to the point that their phones have no value at all. Nokia's decline accelerates by 2011 and eventually acquired by Microsoft in 2013. They tried to offer yung Windows OS, diba? Sabi nila it would be the competitor to Android and Mac OS, iOS. Yet they still failed, no? Ayan. So ano ba yung mga ginawa ni Nokia na mali? Resistance to change. They did not adapt Android. Isang mali yan ni Nokia. Which every consumer gusto nila ng Android. Yet Nokia, sabi nila, no, we will not adapt. We will stay on what OS we have. Ayan. Focus on hardware and not software. Blind promotion of Symbian OS. This is the OS na pinagpipilitan ni Nokia, yung Symbian OS. untimely acquisition by Microsoft, failed marketing strategies, blind tries in its brand value, and negligible or no innovation at all. Now, Nokia is one of the cell phone companies who is really struggling to compete in the phone market. Yan, because they never understood kung ano bang gusto ng tao in the first place. Hopefully, if you put up your own businesses in the future, no, do not be like Nokia. Alright, so ito na. The last part of our discussion is the ethics and social marketing concept. Okay, so what are the ethical issues in consumer behavior? A marketer must comply with all the ethical concerns of the society and avoid using marketing strategies or any type of strategies that violate the following. Consumer privacy. Once you get information from the consumer, it must remain private. There are businesses now who sells yung data from consumers to other businesses, and I think that is something na it's very unethical. Legal regulations, moral and ethical values of the society where you operate, marketing and advertising to children, it must be appropriate, and product pricing and distribution issues. No? Especially for pricing, no, in the Philippines kasi ang daming gumagawa nito yung overpricing, especially in time of need. Do you remember nung kasagsagan o yung nag-start yung pandemic natin? Ang daming nag-hoard ng alcohol, they sold it for 3 times to 4 times the price. That is very unethical. Especially when all people needs this item. So here are some ethical practices na you can do in consumer behavior. Number 1, we have all facts and details about the product services must be clearly revealed to the customers or indicated on the packaging at least. Do you notice yung mga kape minsan, di ba? Warning. Anong tawag doon? Caution. Hot. Ayan. As a consumer, syempre, alam naman natin, kape yan, of course, it's hot. Yet, we must be informed that this product is mainit at nakakapaso. Yan. That is an ethical practice. Consumer personal information must be kept private and safe and not be sold to others. Special care must be taken when advertising to children. We must make sure when we advertise, it is age appropriate. Ayan. Walang masyado Ito medyo blurry din eh. Nagulat ako kasi, I guess it's not in Philippines, pero in other countries, di ba, mga products towards children, pero may mga revealing clothes. So, very inappropriate. Another example I can think dito sa Philippines, ayan. Commercials when it comes to TikTok. Medyo nababahala ako sa TikTok kasi di ba TikTok ang target market niya is mga bata. Pero once you see yung mga TikTok, ang mga trend na ginagawa nila is yung mga patuwad-tuwad, yung nagpapakita ng mga laman, papakita ng cleavage, nagpapakita ng puwet, etc. Which you think, kung nakatarget to sa children, is it really appropriate, no, na may tumutuwad-tuwad, may nagpapakita-pakita ng kung ano-ano? Diba? That is very unethical. What else? All government laws must be complied with. So let us follow the rules and regulation when it comes to selling products. Advertisement and promotion must not be misleading or deceptive. Diba? Whatever we show in our advertisement, yun dapat ang ibibigay natin, no? Or the actual product to be sent to the customers. The company must be accountable and responsible for any loss, injury, damage due to product failure, or baka kasuhan ka. And we have products must be inspected properly for quality control. Pricing of the products must be not discriminatory or unfair. A business must develop ethical business practices and may be socially responsible while making business decisions. A business must have a systematic feedback and complaint management system. We have this kasabihan na the customer is always right. Ayan. Somewhat it is true. Kasi once again, babalik tayo sa sinabi natin kanina earlier that the real actors of the marketplace is always the consumers. So a feedback system is important for a business. And last, a business must care about its customers and of course now the environment. Okay, so those are the ethical practices we must do. And I guess that's it. No? That is chapter 1, part 1 to our introduction to consumer behavior. These are my sources. And so, all right. So thank you for listening and wait for instructions. Okay, goodbye.